We went into the Seventh-day Adventist church, and my mom perpetrated to all of those people that we had both been raised in the church our whole life, and that we had been homeschooled, because most Seventh-day Adventists homeschool, like, their whole life are homeschooled. Like, they're not socialized a whole lot to people outside of the church, very much like the Mormons. And they ain't wrong for doing that. Like, I'm not saying they're wrong for doing that, because they ain't wrong for doing that. But I had been very socialized and was very street smart. And here's the thing. No one knows this, but Seventh-day Adventists do not drink when they're eating. It's part of their religion. They want your saliva to break your food down or something. So the very first meal that we ever ate there, I was choking. And I was I'm going to need something to drink. And they were like, we don't do that. Aren't you raised in our church? You know that. I was like, no, I need something to drink. I'm choking. They did not even have a cup in the building. I had to drink out of a bowl. Legit. Upon not knowing this very, very understood social protocol of not drinking while you eat. I should also state that the Seventh-day Adventists, like the Mormons, have a lot of dietary restrictions. There's a lot of gluten, casein-free stuff. It was really weird, but this is also in 1995, when it was complicated to be gluten, casein-free back then. But that's part of their religion. And the not drinking while you eat, it's literally part of the religion. So the fact that we did not know it brought up huge questions about our authenticity in this religion that we are supposed to have been born and raised in. So they separate us. They take my mom into another room, and they take me in, all the girls take me into a room, and the girls are all, hey, have you ever kissed a boy? To which I should have probably lied, but me being me, I was like, yeah, I have kissed a boy and a girl, and I had a kid last year that I gave up for adoption. Upon which time, it is very easy to establish that me clearly was not raised in this extremely conservative religion. So then they were like, okay, we're gonna need y'all to leave, please. And they weren't rude about it. Honestly, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they were kind of rude about it. They were literally like, all right, you need to go. You need to go. They were not rude. They were very much like, we just don't think that this is the best fit. We've had it on our hearts for a few weeks since you started coming, and it's laid heavy, and we've been in a lot of contemplative prayer about it, but we just feel like this isn't where the Lord wants you. So that was the last time I ever went to church with my mama. So then my mom does the whole disappearing, and everyone thinks that she's dead and that my sister and brother have been kidnapped thing. If you don't know that story, it's down there somewhere. Scroll until you find it. Pretty interesting story there. But she disappears. So then I'm like, okay, well, I've been raised in church. I believe that Jesus is my homie. I believe that God's got my back as long as I follow his very simple rules, which are love everybody, be a good person, don't kill nobody, don't be cheating on married people. Pretty simple rules to follow for a 16, 17-year-old person. So I was like, all right, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to find myself a church. And the Mormons found me. Literally, they came knocking on the door of our group home, and I was like, okay, I think I can get on board with this. This seems very paternal. You seem very loving and accepting. Of course, I would get sucked into a cult. I was literally perfect. Before you can become a member of the Mormon church, one of the things that you have to do is you have to take classes with the missionaries. You know, the really tall white guys with the really short hair and the white shirt that has a little black name tag that says elder, whatever his last name is. That guy. You have to take 10 classes with him, 10 hours. That's your time to ask any questions. If you have any questions, that's your time. After you've become a member of the church, it's really hard to ask questions. So I was like, wait, I have some questions, because you're going over all this stuff, and basically it's just the story of Joseph Smith and how Joseph Smith and Brigham Young got together and decided to create a religion, and I get it, I'm down, it's okay, it's totally a fucking cult. Not a bad cult. Bitches, nobody's fucking anybody behind anybody's back in that church. Nobody's touching their daughters inappropriately in that church. I'm not saying that they're bad because they're a cult, but it's a fucking cult. And I was like, that's a little weird. But I wanted even more cult-like behavior than what was it wasn't cult enough. I'm looking at these missionaries, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything about the multiple wives. I'm not seeing anything about, like, the militia, the commune. Like, how do I sign up for that shit? And they, of course, anyone that is legit LDS, their reaction is all the same. It's, oh, no, 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 no. That is not us. That is not us. We are the LDS. You are talking about the RFLDS. They are totally different. We have completely... It's literally 2 letters difference, but a world of difference when it comes to, like, what they're okay with and what they're not okay with. But I was like, well, I want to be where they have the multiple wives. I want to be on the militia hippie commune. That's what I want. You don't have that? No, we don't have that. I had to, like, find some guy through some, like, side group, and I had to, like, interview. It was a crazy... After meeting this man at a fucking Ryan's Steakhouse, he comes in with 3 women and, like, 17 kids, because it was, like, kids eat free or some shit, and I was like, I see you, Mr. Man with multiple wives and many children over there. I want to be a part of that. How do I get to be a part of that? And even with me being like, hey, dude, it's totally chill. I know who you are and it doesn't bother me. He was like, this shit's illegal, man. You risk me taking, like, they might take my kids away and shit. So no. I literally had to go through, like, an interview process where I had to meet this guy, like, 3 or 4 times. I had to write, like, 4 essays, like, pages on why I was okay with plural marriage, why I didn't have a problem with it, and why I was against DSS. Go through the interview process with him, finally get approved that he has established that I'm not somebody that's going to come out there and try to, like, tear his family apart and turn him into DSS, and I'm not there to destroy the family, and I'm a part of what they want to do, and I support it. Once that was established, then I was allowed to hang out with his wives and his children. And the house, so it was like a commune. They literally had the compound. It was like 6 acres, and he had a huge house. There was one big house, and then there was 2 smaller houses where the second wife and the third wife lived, because the first wife always stayed in this house, and he actually rotated houses. And then the third building was like a storage shed and a school room, because they had like 17 kids. So the wives took me under their wings immediately, started teaching me how to do laundry for 17 kids, how to do grocery shopping for 17 kids, and then started showing me how to prep. This farm, commune, compound, fully sustaining. They have cows, they have chickens, they have goats, they have horses, they have a huge garden. There's literally 20 of them, and they are completely self-sustaining. They never have to go to a grocery store. They never have to go anywhere to get supplies. They have a person that comes to the compound that they trust that goes and gets them supplies if they need something from Home Depot. This is the time before Amazon. This is the time before, you could have stuff delivered to your house. This is in 1995. So this is a completely self-sustaining place, which is exactly what I want. I was like, I want no government involvement in my food. I want to know, like, where my veggies are grown, because that's a big part of the church. It's like being self-sufficient and not... They had a shed that had a bunker. The floor of the shed opened, and there was a bunker underground. They had enough food for 20 people for 20 years, y'all. I am talking 25-pound bags of rice by the hundreds. I'm talking canned goods, like the big giant cans that you see at the restaurant supply store, by the thousands. They had biohazard suits. They had, like, a computer set up in 1995 that would rival some shit that you would see today. Dual monitors. Okay? Like, it was on fucking point back then. These bitches were prepping for Y2K. Like, they were legit prepping for the end of the world.